Welcome to DJM TV.
Kenneth Okonkwo don come out come talk say dis Babati administration don already begin give Nigerians gboza.
Correct pipo, we greet una. We welcome una to DJN TV where ogbonge tori and update dey shele. So if una never subscribe to our YouTube channel, make una hurry now go subscribe and also turn on the notification bell so that anytime we be like say we drop any update like this, una go dey notified sharply. And also make una don't forget to follow us our Facebook page o. Anyway, make we quickly enter the tori wey we carry come for una.
Di spokesperson of Labour Party wey dem dey call Kenneth Okonkwo don come out come talk again concerning di new government of Naija o. Im tok say dis new government so don already begin use Nigerians eye see shege. Im tok about di fuel subsidy wey Babati declare say im don comot o. Im tok say e no suppose make dat statement for im inaugural speech and dat manner wey im take tok am na wetin really break Nigerians dem heart o. Anyway, my people, make I leave una now to watch the full video and hear more of wetin Kenneth Okonkwo talk.
You have seen the model which they promised you. They promised you renewed hope. But from the first day of inauguration, they gave you renewed hopelessness. So, but we promised Nigerians a new Nigeria that is free from the culture of impunity, criminality, corruption, and illegality. And we are going to maintain our focus on that promise, and at the appropriate time we will deliver.
Well, let me put it another way. Because obviously Mr. Tinubu is now the president of Nigeria, if he reaches out to Peter Obi and the Labour Party, and we understand he has this canny ability to mobilize people to his side of the fence, what do you think ought to be the reaction of Mr. Obi and the Labour Party to such an overture?
In law, you do not approbate and reprobate. You cannot be in court saying that this is an unconstitutional pronouncement, that a man who did not win an election is pronounced the winner, and begin to talk about an alliance. It is an unholy alliance, because you cannot be preaching this way and trying to accept another thing this way. That's the classical definition of being a hypocrite, and we are not that in Labour. So we are consistently maintaining our stand subject to the pronouncement of the court.
In that regard, I wonder what you make of the messages that he's pushed out so far and the optics of that in his inaugural speech. Were you inspired by it, or were you depressed by it?
I was a bit scandalized by it, because a statement was made to be an inaugural speech, and right there in the speech you could see a man contradicting the exact thing he was saying. Well, I may not blame him. The statement was written for him, but his own utterances, which was not even in the text, ran exactly contrary to exact thing he was saying, meaning he was simply being a mouthpiece to somebody who wrote something. I said it during campaign that I am not moved by anything documented, because that may just be the work of some brilliant professors. I want to hear the candidates talk. I want them to be cross-examined. Let's hear what he will say. Now, let me move into why I said this. A man in his speech said, "We shall consult and dialogue and never dictate." And Piam, he issued the first dictate of his regime. Fuel subsidy is gone.
Well, I don't mean to interrupt you, but because our job is to try and interpret things as accurately as possible.
Proceed.
If you interpret that, certainly the way that they are now explaining it, they're saying that he made a reference to the fact that subsidy is gone, but the reference was the fact that the previous government had only made allowance up till June in the budget. It wasn't him who did it. He was simply acknowledging that the subsidy is effectively gone. Would you concede that to him?
No, I would not. The statement he made was in May. The subsidy was to go by June. In politics, one day is enough to do the miracle or the damage. But what is the essence of you are saying in your inaugural speech that you are going to inflict more pain on the people? He said he was going to lead. Leadership is defined as the ability to influence people through inspiration, not intimidation or manipulation. That was a demonstration of arrogance of power, not humility of purpose. Now, when you are a leader, what is your purpose? Is it to inflict more pains on the people? No. And you have to be humble about it, especially when the problem emanated from the incompetence and dishonesty of leaders, not from the complicity of the people. Now, let me start by saying, so that you do not misinterpret me as ever supporting anything about oil fuel subsidy. If there is anything that irritates me to my bones, it's the issue of subsidy. I wouldn't have voted for anybody who said he was going to maintain oil subsidy. And I'm very serious about that. What is the wisdom in an oil producing country paying more than 7 trillion to foreign countries to refine your oil and send it back to you? You paying their shipping line, you building their refineries abroad, when you have your 4 refineries already built.
So you support his move then?
No, listen to me.
Right.
I am saying that I hate everything about oil subsidy, and I agree with anybody who says it's fraudulent, it's criminal, and has no business in the first place in the Nigerian economy. Like I said.
Well, that's why he removed it.
No. We should be as careful in coming out of oil subsidy as we were careless in going into it. We displayed recklessness and carelessness going into it in the first place. So when you are coming out, you wouldn't be as careless as you were going in. So what I'm saying is, when you want to remove it, there are 2 fundamental bases, and I talk now as an economist, that you must fulfill in order to make sure that you don't destroy the economy before building it post-oil subsidy. And the 2 basic econometrics that you must achieve: you must saturate the system with fuel, and you must ensure there is no monopoly. When you saturate the system with fuel, elementary economics will teach you that when supply is excess, it maintains a cap on the price. However, no matter how supply is entrenched, if there is monopoly, the monopoly, through Shylock mentality of making profit, can still manipulate the supply in order to make sure that the price gets haywire. I give you an example with OPEC. OPEC can throw its weight around. Even when the supply is there and they don't like the price, they simply cut the supply and the price will jack up. That is what is happening in Nigeria. You should factor it in. Some people have been feeding big on that general corrupt tendency of oil subsidy manipulation to fill in their pocket. So when you want to deal with such things, you have to be careful coming out. You don't need to pronounce it. Like I said, why I said it's a demonstration of arrogance of power. It's just, you just want to tell people that as president, my word is law. Nothing else. Because the other regime has given you a leeway. What he said is unlawful. He said oil subsidy is gone. No. What he said is not true. He said there was no appropriation for what he knew in the budget for oil subsidy. No, there was. And it ought to end by June. If you end it today, that means the June allocation for oil subsidy will be dyed by some elements of criminal tendencies, because they would have jacked up the price before exhausting the subsidy, which is already a matter of law, which is already in the Appropriation Act. So there was everything wrong with that pronouncement. And it is anti-labor, it is anti-people, not because that I support oil subsidy, but because of the recklessness with which they are managing the exit of the oil subsidy.
Right. Well,
Hey my people, no be small thing o. Na here wetin Kenneth Okonkwo talk. He don really analyse this whole matter of fuel subsidy removal wey Babati declare. So anyway my people, make una drop una comment and analyse this whole matter, and make una no forget to like and share. Una do well. See you all in our next video.
DJ